This felt like the match that was representative of AEW as a whole, that you would judge the entire company off of. And with all of that pressure, they stuck the landing. They successfully created the end game to this Death Rider story.
And then the match that had to follow everything, and this crowd was ready for it, the Texas Death Match between Jon Moxley and Hangman Page. And man, I think that half of the musicians that were brought in here, I think that upped the attendance maybe to 30,000, because we had more performers, including the most impressive whistling I have ever seen on a pro wrestling show for Hangman's entrance.
This must have been a professional whistler.
I didn't even know this type of talent existed at a professional level, but like all she did was whistle, and I couldn't imagine someone doing this in front of this many people under pressure for this amount of time, but I assume she nailed it.
Oh, of course. Like, I mean, the results are, you could hear the results. I mean, yeah. They're
like, imagine like your mouth got dry or something, and sometimes when you, like, I'm a decent whistler, but like to do it on command would be.
Well, this person feels like a real professional, and I'm sure she goes to great lengths to make sure she every note in that whistle is nice and moist and perfectly in tune.
Well, we go to this
and it comes out to his old music.
He does, but first we see a shot of him staring out at the sun and walking across his ranch and into the stable to saddle up one more time. And the crowd's chanting cowboy shit, and out comes Hangman to the old theme. The place is going insane for this guy. I mean, the most popular guy on this show was Hangman Adam Page. And then to contrast that, no whistles for Jon Moxley. Instead, he gets driven in the finest pickup truck you can imagine in Arlington, Texas, as the Death Riders are all riding in the back of this pickup.
He should have come out in the compact SUV that he was driving with Renee.
Oh man, with the child safety seat in the back and everything. Drop
real,
off the child at the babysitter's on his way to
death ride.
Yes. God. The family in the back, the bed of nails in the trunk. So he is driven out, and they explain that Hangman 4-1 in Texas death matches, but these two 2-2 in their rivalry. And the bell rings. They go at it. It is record time before our first weapons are revealed, and it would be a slow escalation of violence. Both men have brought forks to this gunfight. A callback to their Texas death match of 2 years ago as well, where the fork was a very vital weapon. And Page gets him in a triangle, and he just starts stabbing this man into oblivion as his forehead explodes like it was Kenny Omega's esophagus on TV a few weeks ago.
Except this was, all the blood here was all too real. Yeah.
I mean, if ever there's a picture-in-picture option that Triller should invest in, it's the Renee cam.
Absolutely. I hope somebody's recording it. Yeah.
So Jon Moxley is bleeding buckets here, like under 5 minutes in. So he then gets the barbed wire to cut Page open, and then we're just escalating. Definite assist in this match to Marina Shafir, who I thought was amazing as like just the go-to wing woman for Jon Moxley to be his assistant to bring out all of his magic tricks. And
she's great.
I thought she was great in the handling of all this. I like the fact that at the end of the day, for the most dangerous match, it's Marina that Moxley entrusts above anyone else, and Marina is the one to have his back and have everything at his disposal. So we get a barbed wire chair that is brought in, then a table, and then get me the glass. So Shafir passes him a bucket of glass, and the shards of glass are placed onto the mat and rubbed into Hangman's face, and then Page's back gets dragged over this glass, and there would be shards of glass all over these men's backs throughout the match. We get 2 chairs that are set up. Hangman would take the unfolded chairs and he turned them around so they're back to back. Now, in the first Texas death match, they did this same spot where Page sends Jon Moxley off the turnbuckle onto the chairs, but he hits the seat of the chair coming down. And I remember thinking, I'm like, it got a huge pop. Everyone reacted the same way as if you hit him in the the backs, which would have been terrible, but you didn't. You did it in a better way. This time they were like, no, let's actually hit him in like the worst part possible. So this time he came down right on the back of the chair coming down. So
maybe they just got lucky last time.
Well, I would have taken that as a sign from God that, you know what, we could do it the easier way. I'm not going to say the safe way, because falling down on a chair regardless is not the greatest.
There's nothing much about these two and their body of work that tells me they ever planned for the safe way.
Well, down goes Moxley. And then there's a power bomb to Moxley onto these chairs. So Yuta arrives and he starts attacking Hangman, and Hangman just drops him with a punch. Page has this nasty gash on his back, probably from the glass. He hits the Angel's wings and then sets up for the buckshot when Shafir leaps onto his back, and Shafir comes off his shoulders with a Death Valley driver through the table on the floor. So the buckshot was just the dress rehearsal for Shafir's bigger bump. So if you are keeping score at home, we had elder abuse, child abuse, and male and on female violence for the wrestling show that was not on NBC.
Maybe someday we'll see Big Justice take a DVD off the apron through a table.
Oh, a power boom through a table, perhaps. Then it's a deadeye onto the glass by Page. So Claudio shows up. Yuta is joining in. So Ospreay runs down with a chair to even things up. When Gabe Kidd gets involved, guillotines Will and hits him with the drill a hole pile driver. And a chair is placed around the neck of Ospreay and stomped by Claudio. I really like the fact that they did this with Joe, because you already established earlier in the night that this is a crippling maneuver. In a company that does a lot of crazy shit and people get up from so quickly. So as soon as Claudio hit this, you knew Will is out of the game. I think it's
a gunshot, basically. You're off the table at that point. And
I think that this could set up Will for something at Forbidden Door. Like, I was thinking Gabe Kidd, but you also have Claudio in the mix here too.
So would you have like both Joe and Ospreay come back? Like, what is the duration of recovery that somebody should have minimum for an injury?
Vignettes strengthening their necks would be the first thing I would do.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I think something definitely involving like Ospreay and Kidd, like that's a pretty fresh direction to go. Or you could do something like a tag match involving Claudio with either Swerve or Joe or something like that. Like there was a bunch of stuff that I was thinking could come out of this. So Ospreay is taken out. He's gone. Moxley superplexes Page off the apron through two barbed wire tables. And the crowd is like, they're into this from start to finish. There's really no dip at all. They meet in the center and they just go at it. Page is caught in the bulldog choke, but he gets up at the count of 9, and then a Death Rider onto an unfolded chair that looked insane, and he gets up again. So the plastic bag is handed to Moxley. This part was a little confusing. Maybe you analyzed it a bit more than I understood. So he's got the plastic bag. Then this video plays of Darby on Mount Everest promising to come take everything from Moxley, which leads to Danielson appearing in the ring as Blue Panther with a mask on to take out Yuta with the Busaiku knee. And then Darby repels from the top of the stadium. Like, did you get the sense like this video aired? It should have aired after the Danielson spot, because it just felt like it was like out of sequence here. Like the video should have led to the repelling.
Yes. I definitely questioned that myself. Like, what was the intended sequence of events here? But I can also buy that like maybe there is the idea to have a video appear as a sort of decoy act so that you can have Danielson come in unexpectedly before getting Darby. At that point, like, I don't know what was sort of intended, but I'll at least say, like, I thought the overall effect was still there, you know? Like, it was, because, like, it's kind of awkward waiting for somebody to repel. Like, I'm grateful, don't get me wrong. Like, even talking about, like, the repelling spot is sort of, like, touchy, just kind of given it, you know, pro wrestling history, of course. But I'm glad, like, this was a nice, slow decline that looked perfectly safe. And to fill that
looked
gap,
like they incorporated the metal carabiner, which is the recommended method here. Like this looked like, very, very safe.
And to fill that time, maybe the idea was, hey, we're gonna have Bryan Danielson come in so that, you know, it's maybe not so awkward to wait for this man. It did still maybe feel a little bit awkward, but all in all,
because we at home saw him start to repel, but the audience hadn't quite seen him. But when they see this figure coming down, they just lose their minds at Darby coming down, and he lands right on the edge of the apron, and Moxley looks like he has seen a ghost.
It's possible he got stuck. It's kind of hard to say. But a lot more could have gone wrong. They overall did manage the spot decently.
Crowd went nuts for Danielson as well, taking out Yuto with the Busaiku. And then it's
we're almost just glossing over the fact that Bryan Danielson showed up, but I mean, this is a big one. Of the returns, I think Darby was going to be a big one, but also Danielson might have been the more sort of like the bigger one. He hasn't appeared on AEW TV proper since that particular moment. Of course, he's appeared in sort of dark segments and all that. But
kind of almost did a match with Max Caster as well, just for the audience.
He did a lot more than I was expecting. We saw a big tope from Danielson here. Got definitely more than physical, and so I don't know. So he's obviously not had any sort of surgery yet, right?
No, this was surgery.
This is definitely pre-surgery, and I guess at last word, he's still waiting on some sort of to see what the results are. Okay, well, I guess I'm grateful that he's still able to do this sort of thing for the time being.
Something tells me we have not seen this man's last match. I just think he was probably having the time of his life involved here. It's G1 Climax season, and that means the Post Wrestling Cafe has you covered with podcasts covering every single tournament match. Plus, we've got Rewind Away going back to 2005 to review Vengeance featuring Triple H versus Batista in a Hell in a Cell match. John and Way are going to be reviewing F1 the movie starring Brad Pitt, and of course, XL editions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. Ad-free with the news of the week and your feedback. Sign up now at postwrestlingcafe.com. Darby hits a coffin drop to all the Death Riders on the floor, and then there are two buckshots connecting onto Moxley. He hits a deadeye off the apron through a table, but then Shafir helps Moxley get to his feet. Again, Shafir was really well used throughout this whole match. So Moxley gets to his feet. The announcers don't think Moxley would have got up without Shafir's help. So the Young Bucks appear from behind Hangman. They take him out with a double super kick and the redacted trigger.
No,
can't
no
be
longer
the EVP
EVPs.
trigger anymore.
No BTE. There's no EVP. What could they do?
So then it is time to introduce the bed of nails that is brought out from underneath the ring and placed. This is where I wanted to hear from Mayor Jim Ross if he had stuck around for this part, just to watch the bed of nails spots in his.
I wanted to hear from the 6-year-old that was sitting right behind the commentators. I don't know if you got to see that, but I can't believe kids were watching this. But I guess
first impaling. So the nails are brought out, and so Hangman's climbing near it, and Moxley goes for a stomp. It wasn't the smoothest of stomps here. It was Page kind of
had his arm up,
pricked his hand, but then he follows with a paradigm shift, and Page manages to get up from the count, and Moxley wants the key to the briefcase. So Shafir goes to get the briefcase from the timekeeper's table, and suddenly she puts her hand under the desk, and she realizes she's been handcuffed. Prince Nana emerges from the timekeeper's area and has handcuffed her. I thought this was such a great spot, and the whole crowd went crazy for it.
I love this spot because the other ones, I think you couldn't reasonably predict. Okay, Osprey's going to come out. At some point, it's likely that Danielson's going to come out. It's likely that Darby's going to come out. I could not have predicted Marina Shafir getting handcuffed this way by Prince Nana and it being such an integral part, because they established that Marina is such an integral part of Moxley's success. So to have this handcuffing suddenly made all the difference in the world, and they followed it up with maybe the best moment of the entire match.
Yeah, so now all the obstacles are out of the way, and Shafir is locked. Swerve then comes down, and he's got Hangman's chain that he left in the locker room on Thursday's meeting on Collision. And he lays out the Young Bucks, gets rid of them. Page sees Swerve. They lock eyes, and Swerve throws the chain towards Hangman. And Moxley's coming from behind. You think that Hangman's going to be distracted by this, but he's got the chain wrapped around, and he wallops Moxley with the chain, and he starts to hang him over the top rope the same way he beat him in their last Texas death match. But this time Moxley grabs him by the hair. He gets out of the hanging position, and A buckshot sends Moxley onto the bed of nails. Down goes Moxley. The whole crowd is vomiting up their lunch, and Moxley gets hung over. How they work this spot, I will never know, but it looked like this man's life was about to end with how tight this chain looked. It looked insane.
The selling. I mean, I wonder how much of it honestly was selling. But so what made this so effective was you have never seen Jon Moxley in his entire AEW duration panic like this. He's a guy who's always so controlled, so calm, and just never sells to this extent. He was panicking. He was fearing for his life. He was just super, I don't even want to say cowardly. He was just he looked like he was scared that he was about to die.
And it was the same way he beat him at Revolution, where he's got him hung by the chain and he has to tap at the end. When this tap occurred, this place exploded. They just hit this perfect, and you've got this elation, this relief on Hangman's face, and then the cutaway to Swerve, who's got a smile on his face, watching Hangman ascend to the top and become AEW champion. Here he is, happy for the man that he's put through hell, and who in return said, my mission was for you to never be champion. This was just so incredible. Paige finally gets the key to the briefcase, and man, it looked like he was having an impromptu opponent tonight with this briefcase, and they have to cut away. Finally, he breaks down in tears. Part of me was thinking, is he crying because the key is not working? But in fact, he's unlocked it, and he pulls out the belt. And this crowd, you've never seen them respond to the sight of a belt that they have not seen since October. As he lifts this up for the beauty shot, Justin Roberts announces him as the champion, and then Tony Khan took a significant portion of their television rights fees and put it into the pyro budget as the show went off the air closer to 9 p.m. after 8 hours of broadcast. All In Texas continued, and this company went all in. Just a phenomenal match, a phenomenal peak to this story, a title change that will be one of the all-time moments in this company's history, and still leaving so much great stuff at their fingertips here with the whole Swerve. To me, the Paige Swerve story is the best storytelling this company has ever done, and the commitment they have had, what they have gotten out of what was to me a ridiculous segment about breaking into a man's house, and even more ridiculous of torching a guy's childhood house, and what they have gotten out of that, years at this point of story out of these two, and two men that have to eventually confront regret and having empathy for the other. This was just terrific. This was my match of the show, but this was a pretty incredible card from AEW overall. And I'm saying that after 8 hours of this show.
I thought, so we talk about expectations, certainly when it comes to something like Omega, Okada, we talk about just, I mean, for me, I had, as much as I was anticipating Omega versus Okada, I think I had even higher expectations for for Mox versus Hangman Page, just given the sort of all that was riding on it, this felt like it wasn't just maybe a match that you would judge for on its own. This felt like the match that was representative of AEW as a whole, that you would judge the entire company off of. And with all of that pressure, they stuck the landing. They successfully created the end game to this Death Rider story, this what feels like at this point years-long storyline that is centered around the entirety of AEW. In a match like this, I was looking for violence, I was looking for creativity, and I was looking for emotion. And I thought these two and everybody involved delivered on all three of those things. All the violence I thought in this death match was really, really compelling. They did a great job of making us cringe, getting us to the level with the bed of nails that you kind of want. You want that sort of novelty, whether it be in the form of a hypodermic needle or just drinking somebody's blood, or in this case, a pretty awesome bed of nails spot. It got to that sort of bloody war level that you wanted to see out of a spectacle like a Texas death match. And I loved, though, like for me, the way that they managed to deal with all the different participants coming in here, playing with our expectations. We knew Osprey would get involved somehow, but they had him taken out early so that he wasn't so much a factor. That opened the door for your special appearances in Darby Allin and Bryan Danielson coming out, and those guys didn't even like necessarily affect the finish here. They only like cleared the board so that the other Death Riders were out. But my favorite was the fact that they saved the ending here for Swerve Strickland. And
it had to be. It had to be Swerve in this. Like the final assist for Hangman is
what that does is it puts into center focus the Swerve versus Page story as the center relationship of this entire company, as it should be. It is the greatest rivalry that this company has, maybe it will ever have, and for it to just be like the sort, like for the culmination of their relationship and their feud to end in this one moment, leading to Hangman Page actually overcoming John Moxley and winning this championship, saving AEW. Man, I thought it was beautiful. I'm not afraid to say that I got very emotional watching that moment, because for me, it's the entirety of that relationship that's been so well told. It has felt so real, as ridiculous as many of these stunts have been, burning down somebody's house and whatnot. It's those are the ridiculous things, but it's sort of like the idea that this man has hurt me so much and I've hurt him so much, and I'm choosing to put that all aside for the greater good. That's a relatable human emotion, and I think the performance of all of these guys, Will Ospreay included, John Moxley included, like you have to give it up to the Death Riders for playing like this, and Tony Khan's booking, obviously everybody involved, but like they got to that sort of emotional catharsis that I so rarely am able to experience these days in as much professional wrestling as I watch, and they got me there. Like I just, even in like thinking about it, it's such a beautifully crafted moment that like, happy to say, will make me emotional. So I loved it. They nailed it. And I think they created what might be like the greatest singular in-ring moment in AEW history. This feels like it is the crowning achievement of like Tony Khan's booking.
Yeah, I mean, when that segment aired on Collision with the sit down after Dynamite with Page and Swerve, like it was, to me, that was like the go home segment of the whole week. And that was like, it put everything in place for this. Like this segment, this locker room segment was like a year and a half in the making, was this, and leading to this, where they could just sit down and talk to each other. And it really did set the table for Saturday, for tonight. It was just, it was really, really well done. And
I love this. I love this moment. I also think this scene could have worked even if you didn't watch the moment, because like there's enough like brewing in the background where like you could understand why Swerve would come out. In fact, I wonder what the experience would be like if like Swerve just suddenly showed up without essentially them making up on the Thursday. But the Thursday segment was really, really good, like really, really well done, and just as a total like storytelling experience, I mean, it was really, really strong.
Just imagine how different this would have been if this segment went like another 10 seconds and Page comes back in the locker room. Oh, whoops, I forgot my chain. There'd be no reason for him to come down, return it.
Yeah.